Good evening and welcome to Raise the Bar. I'm your host, Troy Haines, former UCLA high jumper and now longtime coach. And we are brought to you by nobody because I don't have any sponsors yet, but we're working on it. So hang in there with us. I'd love to be able to rattle off 4 or 5 minutes of commercials at you, like I listen to on the podcast that I listen to as I'm driving to work every day. But those days aren't here yet. There he is.
How are you doing?
Sure. All right. How you doing, sir?
Good, good.
Awesome. We are
Just
being joined right now by Jeremy Fischer. I was just doing a rant on my one of my rant podcasts. So your name popped up and I was way more interested to talk to you than I was to listen to me rant. So
what was your rant about? I want to hear about it.
yeah. Well,
I
I
have
was
some rants myself, so I could probably join you on yours.
right. I was doing a rant on overtraining. So a common problem, I'm sure, for both of us. Both, I have my own personal experiences with it, and then I was just trying to counsel some of the coaches, especially the ones with less experience, maybe, and working with younger athletes.
Yeah,
The dangers of that. But I had the same thing happen with Barbara Bachaka from Canada just a couple of years ago, where I was like, hey, just sometimes just in the workout itself and sometimes overall it's like, hey, we need to take more rest. You need to rest more,
yeah.
and you end up straining Achilles and that kind of stuff. So yep, that's what we were talking about. But hey, we've got Jeremy Fischer in here on Raise the Bar. And Jeremy, it's been a couple of years since I've
Yeah,
chance to
yeah,
talk
for
with you.
sure.
uh,
Just lots happened probably in those couple of years too.
yeah, so how have you been, man? Tell us what's the latest with the training center down there in Chula Vista and you.
So in 2022 they ended the residence program, and I
Hmm.
was the director of that, and it was just a shame. It was a shame because it would have been different if it was financially really, costly to do, or if we weren't having success.
Right.
And, in the time when I took over directorship from 2014 until, it ended in 2022, in that time, I was able to, myself personally, I was able to coach 16 Olympic and World Championship medalists, plus,
Hmm.
gosh, over Paralympic medalist. And then just the program, I introduced Ryan Krauser, Joe Kovacs, Darrell Hill, Tunde Lagi, who won the world championship in the disc this past year.
Right.
You've had trials champions, medalists. I mean, we've had over 20 something medalists. In Rio, we had 5 medalists from the center. I mean, so we averaged about 2.9 medals per championship since 2012 or
Wow.
11, sorry,
Yeah.
through up until 22, this is session of the program. And so even our alum who like left, and Ryan and Joe and those guys continue. I mean, they break world records and are continue to be one of the things. And it just showed the importance of how important development is in a country, and allowing for a place to. I don't think a lot of people understand that in events, the only way you get a contract is um, if you're basically a medal contender, or
Right.
if you're the second coming of that person,
Right.
and
Right.
they're paying basically for 4 events right now. They're paying for the 100, the mile, the marathon, and that's who gets paid. And
Yeah.
it's I could be upset and I could be angry and disappointed. I mean, just for myself, I've coached 18 medalists, and when the program was done, I didn't have, any shoe company or any, corporate sponsor coming, hey, let's create a program or something like that. If I
Right.
was a
Right.
distance coach, I'd have my, pick of who I wanted, or wanted to work with and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
from a standpoint, um, just understanding that it's disappointing and I don't think they see kind of where the sport is in regards to the uh, the state of track and field. And so, I mean, you're seeing it. I mean, you can open your eyes and look and see that, like, there's less and less people getting sponsorship. I mean, I worked with Christabel Netti, and she had jumped 692 or three with me, after not able to stay at Altus because Dan was somewhat retired. and had fantastic. Unfortunately, she got in 17, she had gotten or the flu that went around the World Championships and got sick, and
Oh, we are
so
just
when I cut, I think we're frozen. Yeah, Nike cut basically like people who weren't winning medals, and so she lost her funding, and because of that, I lost athletes like that, and it's it started the snowball of there's very few field event athletes with sponsorship right now,
yeah,
and it's just getting worse and worse. And so I work with Korea, I work with India, I work with some Americans. I have a Guatemalan long jumper, Puerto Rican triple jumper. So I still work with a lot more international athletes. I've had to say no to some American athletes just because they can't afford to live in San Diego and train at Chula
right,
Vista. And
right.
I'm really excited. I created MBA athletics and maximum velocity athletics and online coaching and things like that, and that's going well. But my next kind of thing is just a personal project to me, as I created a foundation, and my goal for the foundation is to redo not a residence program, but paying athletes to be able to live in the area and continue to train. Because, like I said, a kid who comes out of college, Chris Bernard's a perfect example. Never won an NCAA championship because PR was like 16, 60 something out of college, and the guy's going to potentially make his third Olympic team. Made two world championship final, missed the medal by 2 centimeters, and
Yeah,
that person, they get 1 year in the sport potentially, and that's it. And but the residence program helped them stay in longer. I mean, uh, there's just up and down. I mean, Omar Craddock, he missed a medal by a little bit. He came to the center, um, was here for a while. Ricky Robertson, I mean, Olympian, world championship team member, Brian McBride, world champion. I mean, all these athletes were able to come in because of a residence program and
hmm,
develop and take the time, because most medalists are 26, 27 years old. You graduate college at 22, 23. And so you got to
sure,
bridge that gap. And it's there, like I said, there's 18 distance enclaves. There's, I think, 10 to 12 sprint enclaves. There really isn't field event enclaves with that. And that was what the center provided. So USATF, I mean, they just didn't see any value in it, which is kind of disappointing, and
yeah,
eliminated the program. And I don't think that was the right decision. That's neither here nor there, but it's what they
right,
did. And so I don't sit in the talk about how underfunded field events are. I just try to do something
yeah,
about it. So we created a foundation called the MBA Foundation, and we're raising money to basically create that residence program and to have two at least bronze level meets for field event athletes in the United States. So that's kind of like my passion project now that I'm working on, to get kids through basically 32. Then after that, hopefully, we have this great program. I don't even want to really do as much of the coaching. I want to bring some coaches in to be able to do that. And
right,
I mean, there needs to be a long triple jump coach. There needs to be a high jump coach. There needs to be a pole vault coach. There needs to be a multi coach. There needs to be a throws coach, and then there needs to be like a javelin coach, which a lot of times is different from the other throws. Because world championship, I have triple jump jumping, and then a high jumper is qualifying too. You can't do that, and
yeah, you
so
can't
at
be
the college
inconsistent.
level, yeah. So you need build it to where you just have those individual coaches in an environment that's amazing, and which Chula Vista, I argue, is one of the best tracks in the world.
Yeah,
And allow for a couple of years for the development of the kids, and they don't have to worry about Maslow's hierarchy. They don't have to worry about the basic needs of putting a roof over their head, food in their mouth, and stuff like that, or paying for coaching. I mean, you're a coach. A lot of coach can't. A lot of athletes can't pay for the coaching, and so they go to a second tier, third tier coach who basically is charging nothing or little, and then they don't have any success, and then they're out of the sport.
yeah,
And that's not the way it should be. It's like, I feel that you know you I'm not going to reduce my I'm going to sit there and say, okay, I can coach you for free, because then I can't sustain and
right,
live.
right,
But at the same time, um, I can only take so many athletes as it is anyways. you
yeah,
know I think the upper limit for a coach is 12, and that's pushing it. And I think the sweet spot is between 6 to 10 athletes, and that's about it,
hmm,
including all the different,
yeah,
so that's kind of what I've been working on. I have the NBA services and that, and then working with international. So things, but my most prized thing, I'm dad. I have a 2-year old, and that's my best. That's the number one thing I'm working on. Being,
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I think you
yeah,
and I talked probably, it might even be 2001. It seems like it's been a while because you were like at the very beginning of my podcast. So, and I remember had never met you and didn't really know that much about you. And the more I have, I'm just like, I'm blown away. I loved it, the passion that you have for it, Jeremy. And what I keep thinking, and this is a common soapbox, that you climbed up on for me. Usually I'm the one who's going, hey, track and field athletes, first of all, are not being recognized around the world, as they should. We have some of the most amazing athletes on the planet, and you know, the fact is that it's poorly covered. We don't get enough media attention over here. Why is there no money? Well, the reason there's no money is because we're not on TV. If you're not on
yeah,
TV, every once every 4 years, you get a free spotlight put on you because of the Olympics. But even then it's not that well covered. I remember back in the days, I'm as a high jumper like yourself, I watched Dwight Stones in 1984 at age 30, break the American record, jump 7'8" at the trials and gets into the Olympics and then jumped the best that he'd ever had jumped in the Olympics and still got fourth. Doug Nordquist got fifth, but I saw two jumps of theirs. They showed two of their jumps and they didn't win. They didn't show any of the drama between, Mogenberg and Joburg and Zhu Chenhua, who was the world record holder at the
yeah,
time. None of
yeah,
that. You don't
yeah,
see any quality high jumping, guys jumping 7, 8 and 3/4 and on and on. And it's an Americanized coverage where they just show the Americans and really only if they medal, like you said, and the glamour event, of course. It was 1984. It was all about Carl.
yeah,
So you had the 100,
yeah,
the 200, the long jump, and the relay. And so, and he was a great ambassador and did a lot of great things for the sport, obviously, but he was the high ticket, item, the high priced item. But now, like you're saying, if you're not, where, the reason, sometimes it's cause or effect, but it's like, what is the reason that they're only paying, the people that they're paying? And it's like, well, football's kind of the same way. Who are you going to pay on your team? Your quarterbacks make a lot of money. Your edge rusher makes money. Your corners make money. Your left tackle, who's protecting your quarterback, who makes all the money, he makes a lot of money. But
yeah,
you're filling out the rest of your squad with the little guys that you can afford to nickel and dime them. Your first year player, $400,000, not 25 million. So you look at the way that it is, and I'm like, well, we just need more money. We need to promote. We need to
yeah.
find a way, to
Well,
make
but
broadcast.
we also have lost track of kind of the passion that track and field has. So people like you and I are passionate about it. So we do everything we, kind of say, but we're not in, for the most part, we're not in the places of power to do the things that we need
Correct.
to promote the sport. Because my most memory was, and I remember recording, was there was a high jump competition that used to travel the world, and they had it in Chicago. And it was, I watched Dragutin Topic, Sotomayor was there, Hollis was there, and a couple other people, right? And they filled up this thing in Chicago. It was high jump only. It was on ESPN, and I just started high jumping, and I remember just watching it, and it had 3,000 people doing the high jump, and it was high jump only. And I was fortunate enough, I jumped high enough to where I Europe, even though I wasn't that 235 guy, I could find opportunities for my make decent money.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, there was literally in Germany, between Germany and um, France and Croatia and Czech Republic and all the different kind of places. You can, I mean, I remember Jamie jumped 29 times one summer, so, I mean, this is
Yeah.
when we were in the early 2000s. I mean, even me, who was, a national class, on the cusp of world, I jumped like 14 times, in one year and made some solid money to be able to survive in the sport.
Right.
And now it's like, there's maybe only 3 or 4 only meetings left. And, and unfortunately, we lost a great ambassador because Wolfgang Ritzdorf died and he had a high one in Cologne. But
Mhm.
um, yeah, it's just dying, and the people who unfortunately have the most power, I don't think have as much passion of like you and I, because I'm watching the other day. So they had a playoff football game, right? And it was the Chiefs versus whoever they played in the first round.
Ravens. No, yeah, first round. Who did they play in the first round? They played the
Yeah,
Bills in the second round.
yeah. So yeah, it was Buffalo in the second round, but whoever they played, it was like Chiefs and whoever else, right?
Yeah.
And I sat there and I'm listening, and you know how much the NFL, or do you know how much NBC Peacock paid just the one game?
Oh yeah, it was something unbelievable because they were trying to launch the new app too.
$110 for
Yeah,
one football game. I'm sitting
yeah,
there going, USA Track and Field operates at roughly $40 million, which is I still haven't seen them operate at that, but they say they have $40 million. But we every tax has been 30 something million. But
right.
I'm sitting there going like, okay, so sold our sport for 23 million a year, and they literally sold one football game for 110. I mean, there's such a distinguish, but it's not that. It's the fact that like when you put track on TV, and people will say, well, people don't watch it. Yeah, because they put it weird times. But even so, it's like you still almost get a million people viewership,
Yeah,
and it's always finding it somewhere, kind of
right.
whatever. And so people want to watch it. I mean, the World Championships still have 90, 200 million people watching it. And then obviously Olympics has 3 billion. So it's a
Right.
different, but
Yeah.
there's exactly what you said. If you put it out there, people will watch because
Yeah.
they've got cornhole out there.
Yeah.
And what's the new uh, Sunday game that everyone plays?
Pickleball.
Pickleball. I mean, they've got that on TV. I mean,
Yeah.
literally the other night I'm watching the number one play on SportsCenter. They had a pickleball shot. I'm like, are you guys kidding me? Like these guys are doing 360 slam dunks, jumping in the air, and you're showing me a pickleball shot as the number one
Yeah.
play in sports. Like that's how desperate we've got to like promote the sport.
Yeah.
Doing that,
Uh-huh.
and a guy could set a world record or run sub 2 hours in the marathon, and they barely show it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's sad. It's more sad that they're just not promoting it. And
Yeah.
I think the only thing, honestly, I hate to say it, but I think one thing that's saving track and field is social media.
Yeah.
Because when they made when Mutaz went crazy because they made the meme of him almost jumping into the basketball hoop, and that just got so many views. And it's like stuff like that is allowing our sport to
Yeah.
remain and maintain. But I mean, the national championship view, you know, yeah, you just can't grow the sport if you're not on TV and you're not being creative in the ways. I
Yeah.
mean, I can go to Europe and watch a meet, and I can watch the 10,000, and the high jump is in the top corner or shot put, and we're still producing things where we show the whole 10,000 and we show one high jump.
Oh,
Like it's just,
you're
it's
preaching to the
ridiculous.
choir. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. I tell that story all the time. I said, prime ticket, 1986, my senior year, when they were just starting. They said, "Hey, we want to film your meet against Cal." So Cal came down here,
Mhm.
and I'm a senior at UCLA. Mike Powell's on the team with me. World record holder in the long jump, who also high jumped 7-1 in high school, and
Yeah.
a good friend of mine. We ended up sweeping the high jump in the rain, and they showed every lap of the men's 10,000, like you said, and they didn't show one field event, not just no high jump, which we swept, but no shot put,
Yeah.
no pole vault, nothing. And it really hasn't
Which,
changed.
which, which, which is funny. That's UCLA's basis of programs was the fact that if you look at UCLA when they were good, it was the jumps and the throws. It was field events in the
Yeah,
400 in that area. Like they
right.
never had good.
Yeah,
You take Meb, and I don't want to be disrespectful to everybody, but you had Meb and you had a couple people who are good distance, but they're not known for their distance. They're known for their 400,
yeah,
their 100, whatever, but their field events. I mean, Rayford Johnson, Jackie Joyner Kersey,
right.
Mike Powell, yourself, all on and on and on. All these names field event athletes and Olympians and stuff, and then 400 and 100 and 200. But there's
Yeah,
no, you take Meb out, and I think there's not very many, distance runners that are
right,
in that,
right.
glorified Olympic medal kind of thing.
Well,
So
they
it's
just
great.
felt, I mean, it was easier for whatever reason for them to just film people running around in circles, I guess. I didn't understand it at the time, but it's like the thing that I keep saying, Jeremy, is, if you can take the Masters, which is, I love golf, but it's as boring as watching paint dry unless you're playing at the Masters, which is a beautiful course. And unless it's for everything, like unbelievable amounts of money and fame. Tiger Woods is, obviously helped with the whole image of golf. But at the same time, for the average person who doesn't really know much about it, they can be really bored watching it, even if they're watching Tiger. So you go, if you can take that and such a great backdrop and make it interesting, You got cameras on every hole. You got cameras following every group. You've got anything that exciting that happens. Somebody hits it close, they're going to show you that. Somebody chips in for eagle on 17, they're going to show you that. And there's a guy in the truck with all those cameras going, okay, go camera 3. All right, we got Jim Nance, he's in Butler Cabin with the low amateur. We got this, we got that. And they're just like, it's a well-oiled machine, man. They're zip, 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 zip.
But they're
Everything
also
laid out.
they're painting the picture for
Yes.
the week. That's the big thing. Like that's why Tiger Woods making the weekend is so huge because
Sure.
viewership is going to be because people want to watch it. But it's not even that. But it's a great point, right? You talked about it 4 times a year, right? You're getting the best players in the world to
Mhm.
they're not dodging each other. They're
Yeah.
not shut up because it doesn't fit into the realm. So when you only have the world championships, right? And people aren't showing up to this diamond league, they're saying, okay, well, I don't understand why isn't Bolt at this league when it's supposed to be one of the big competitions, or why isn't,
Right.
Noah Lyles or like Sidney McLaughlin or whatever it may be. Why aren't they at that competition? Because and even this past year, Sydney didn't go. She had a little knee thing to go to the World Championships. And a lot of people pulled out the World Championships this past year
Yeah.
because they're getting ready for the Olympic year.
Yeah.
So it's like also we're not doing ourselves any disservice now in the field events. Every opportunity they get, they try to take it as long as they're healthy, right?
Yeah.
But I think, and that's what people have said. Just change things up. Maybe we do, instead of one world championship, we do, two, three big championships and or something like that. But we just got to change it up. It's
Yeah.
got to go. But because people want to come and see the stars, and the stars only show up at the world championships and
Yeah. Yeah.
and things like that. And then I don't even want to get into hosting meets in the most, 250,000, city places. I don't care how beautiful the track is. You're not going to grow the sport unless you're in a metropolis like LA or Chicago
Yeah.
or New York or somewhere like
Yeah.
that. When we're in, no offense, Albuquerque, New Mexico or Eugene,
Yeah.
Oregon for every championship, it's like
Yeah.
you're not going to grow the sport. I'm sorry.
Well, it'd be nice to get them to come down to you for trials, or even go to, Mount Sac now that they made.
Well, Mount Sac was supposed to host the trials, and with the LA area, I mean, to this day, people don't, Sacramento holds the record for most people at Olympic trials
Mhm.
still to this day. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to be disrespectful because it's a beautiful track, but I mean, I've been to Eugene a few times, and I just don't feel like it has the same aura, energy. I
Yeah.
think people are a little fatigued of track up there because it just isn't the same as like, I mean, trials in 8 and the trials in 12 and even 16 at the old stadium was amazing.
Yeah.
And I've been to world championships. I've been to, now national championships in the new stadium, and it's beautiful. But I mean, I'm sitting there at the world championships and I have American athletes sitting on the runway, and I'm like, finally, we're going to be at a meet where every American's going to stop and clap and, be whatever. And my athletes are sitting on the runway, or American athletes are sitting on the runway, and they're sitting on their hands.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you go to Russia, you go to uh, Czech Republic, you go wherever, the home
Yeah.
country, and when their athlete could get butt naked last, but they are cheering and they're clapping and they're
Yeah.
doing everything to like promote their athletes. And here in
Yeah.
the U.S., we had the World Championships, and too many athletes were in the starting blocks. Too many athletes were on the runways, and they were not cheering for them.
Yeah.
It was sad. I mean, I was just sitting there going, "Is this our home world championship?"
Yeah. Well, I think we've
So
got
that was
a real image problem. And, like you're saying, football, basketball. I mean, everybody knows these great athletes coming out of high school, going to the college. I mean, the mill is just set up, both football and basketball. College for baseball, not so much, right? They used to just draft them when they were 18. And,
mhm.
you got more players going into the pros now from college, but even still, lots of times they just jump right from high school to pro ball. But it's like,
And
they set
baseball
it
is
up.
not. And baseball is now it's not even the top sport. I mean, baseball was
Yeah.
like in my whole life it was the biggest sport. Now they've
Yeah.
moved down to third tier. I mean, they're
Yeah. Yeah.
behind football and they're behind
Yeah. And
basketball now.
still, but when we compare us as a sport, track and field, to even baseball or hockey, who are the guys making millions of dollars? The players, coaches, these franchises. And it comes down to money, because you and I both know that the NFL contract is billions of dollars with these different networks. Each owner is guaranteed $400 million even if they're butt last, they all share the revenue equally. And the spending cap, the salary cap is only 220. So minimum, they're making $180 million, even if they go under or over the salary cap a little bit. And then that's before you bring in the revenue of their home games and their,
Home
all
games
that
and
stuff.
uniforms and jerseys
Sure. Yeah,
and
merchandise. Yeah.
concession sales. I
Yep.
mean, it costs what, $20 to park a car, and you've got,
Oh, 100.
five, ten
Some places
thousand
are
cars
100.
parked,
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
So
So
no, they're not hurting for money.
we're at the other end of that, because like you said, unless you do run the 100 or you're a great distance runner or you're in one of those quote unquote feature events, then who are the other people? We don't know. They
Well, I
they
mean,
don't, they don't
we just
promote.
had the
They say,
marathon. We have
yeah,
marathon trials, and I I give full credit to the distance community. Again, I will never, I never get jealous about, it's like I watch a kid who ran 352 in the mile and they get a contract, and the kid never even makes a U.S. team, and I got kids who make U.S. teams and make finals at World Championships who don't even have a contract, and I get
right,
mad about it because I don't want to take away, but it's like I'm sitting there going like, and the distance agents or the agents will tell you, well, distance athletes make money. I'm like, I agree with that for the top three people, but no one knows who this person is on whoever's roster. I don't
right.
agree with that. Like, I'm sorry, but the top triple jumper in the country has more, followers and more fame than the person who's never made a US
Right.
team or a
Right.
Canadian team, whatever team that they're trying to make. But, regardless of that, it's the it's not the disparity, and I don't care about that. But the marathon, I think the winner took home like 80,000 or something like that, right?
Hmm.
And good for the distance community. But think about that: the distance trials winner, okay, in the U.S. made $80,000, right? Um, and I hope they medal, but like the Olympic gold medalist in the long jump, if they're from the U.S. or triple jump from the U.S. won't even see that kind of money
Yeah.
unless it's from the shoe company because they will
Yeah.
only pay $10,000 for winning the trials. And if they win the Olympic gold medal, that's only 35,000 from
Really.
the USBC, and then the USA track and field match that, so it's 70. So literally, the trials winner could be literally, I mean, make the trials, run great, and still finish top five, but they're not, you only get money for a medal, and you're going to
Wow.
have a guy who won the trials, who won a medal, the gold medal in there, and just off of that, they'll make the same as the person who won the U.S. trials, and I'm not disparaging that. I think that's amazing that the distance group
Yeah.
is doing that, but I'm like, well, then follow their model. How are all that money for their prize money when track is only getting $10,000 per event
Yeah.
for the trials winner and then only 35 for an Olympic gold medal. I'm working with different countries, and you know there's countries, I think Malaysia or one of those countries, Singapore is like $1 million if you win a gold medal. And now they don't have as many athletes, but
Right.
it's like I look at things like, okay, we spent $786 billion on our defense contract. I'm like, we could have reduced that to 785, and they could have gave track and field, or they could have given the USOPC $1 billion, and then you could have gave a living wage to every Olympian out
Yeah.
there. It still had 600, 700
Right.
million left or something like that. And
Right.
you know, it's just hard. It's just hard to see stuff like that, but it
Yeah.
is what it
It is
is.
what it is. It's you got a multi-layered problem. And I
Hmm.
keep thinking, where you get your answers from to me is the same way that I coach, watch and copy, steal, find out what these other guys are doing. How are they promoting their athletes? The
Hmm.
LIV tour in golf shows up and says, hey, these guys don't want to play 4 rounds, they want to play three. They've got families, they don't want to travel all the time. So let's do this. And then they make it more up tempo. There's more music. It's a lot more like the Waste Management Open in Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
They're pumping up loud music. They're attracting younger people because the old guys like us are starting to drop off. So it's like, okay, they're not as interested in this. Their
Yeah.
attention spans are like this. So let's market to them. Let's draw them in somehow. Let's get the social media going, like you're saying, which tends to be younger. The
Hmm.
Facebook crowd tends to be older. What Instagram's gonna be younger. TikTok's even
Yeah.
younger. So
Yeah.
let's get them in. Let's promote our stars. And then what did Live do? They said, well, let's do these teams, put together teams. you and I both know back in the old days there were teams for dual meets. There used to be a USA versus Russia, you know, dual meet, right? You had to
Yeah, no, I mean the
fight
school
and
record at
claw to get on
Wisconsin
that
was
team.
by Pat Matsdorf, who did
Uh-huh.
the USA versus Russia duel.
Yeah. I mean, there's no
Oh,
dual meets anymore. You don't even see it here in the States, in the grassroots. I mean, some of the states, yeah, but here in California, I know all kinds of different leagues that don't even do a state meet or I mean a dual meet anymore. They just do their whatever their qualifiers are for their league championship, and they do
yeah, the
that.
only dual meet I've seen was, and I think they could only have a dual meet was Vista Marietta against Great Oak, and that's because Vista Marietta had 500 athletes and Great Oak had 450. So I don't
Right.
think you could have had, more than that. But no, you're right. I mean, even at the college level, like when I was there, we were probably at the edge of the dual meets, and it was because like it was weird because it was back then it was like 25 scholarships and endless coaches,
Right.
and so you didn't. I mean, there's meets where we went to later on where like I had triple jumpers, long high jumpers, and there may be only one other jumper from the other schools, but there was eight schools there,
Yeah.
because distance oriented or whatever it was, and I'm sitting there going like, it's an eight-way scored meet, but there's four
Yeah.
high jumpers. But
Right.
but then there's 30 800-meter runners, there's
Right.
30 1500-meter runners, there's
Yeah.
30, 400-meter runners or whatever. But like, and that just, I think, kind of reflected on the field event kind of thing. And I mean, you've got great coaches out there. And I mean, at college level, at the high school level, performance of the kids is absolutely amazing.
Hmm.
But now it's like now you're I was just talking to a couple coaches, elite coaches, right, at the college level, and I'm not going to put their business out there, but I mean they have a full team of 12, 13, 14 athletes, and then they have a postgym group of 6 to 8 athletes. I'm like, you guys are better than me. They're at a meet with their college team, and then they're going to an elite meet on Sunday. And I'm like, and they have families, and I'm like, if that's not sustainable.
No. Yes.
It's not sustainable. We're trying to put when you eliminate a program like ours, you're putting so much pressure on them to do something that, they really aren't getting paid for because they're
Right.
getting paid for their college. It's
I
just,
think,
it's
yeah.
crazy.
Well, I think the way I look at it now, Jeremy, you and I are talking about the same thing from very similar perspectives. And, the people at the top that have all the money, they don't really care because the way that I'm looking at it is this, and it's pretty simple because I've heard the numbers and I'm sure you have too, that there's at the grassroots level, at the high schools, at the junior Olympics, there's more involvement than ever in track and field. There's all these people, and whether they're being coached or not doesn't really matter because what everybody forgets is we are a huge country. We're 50
Mhm.
little countries all together. We have this huge amount of people that are involved. So when you throw those numbers out there, it doesn't matter whether they're well coached or whatever. You just have the numbers game working for you. You're gonna get
For sure.
some of those people that are going to perform. You're going to have guys jumping 7 feet in high school at 25 of the states, or let's say 20 or 10 even, but still 10 7-footers in high school. And then they're going to get picked by the colleges and they'll go. And if they're lucky enough to be in the SEC or somewhere, like you said, you've got a quality coach, they may get better. They're going to jump higher. And then, you've got what happens then? They're going to compete, and every once in a while they will funnel right through the Olympics. Javon Harrison, right, jumping high and long jump, right out of he was at LSU, right? So his whatever year it was for him in 2021, he's jumping at this unreal level, and at that time, I think didn't he jump 7 8 3/4 and didn't even medal? It was crazy. I remember
No,
it
he
was
jumped.
one
He
of the
didn't know.
highest
So
jumps
my
ever.
guys, I coached Wu, Sang, the Korean who finished fourth, and
Right,
Wu jumped 235 and did not medal.
right,
And and it was one of the highest, obviously, fourth place finishes. But yeah, no, Javon jumped 33 and was like
233.
sixth or seventh.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
this
I
was
mean,
the highest
there's a
mark
few
ever to
guys who
come in
jumped
that
that
low.
too.
Yeah,
No, it was crazy. It was, I mean, I thought Wu after he made 35, I was like, I'm sitting there counting my pennies because I get a bonus for his,
right.
performance, and then the Belarusian kid who just, I mean, I don't even
Banyuk,
want to get into that,
was
but
it Bon?
the Belarusian kid jumps
Yeah,
37,
right.
and like, yeah, that's a discussion for another day. But he literally got a and then Belarusia overturned the ban, and then he was eligible. So it's like, oh, it
Yeah.
mysteriously happened. And so I was like, okay, this is BS, but whatever. It was
Is that
so,
Ivanyuk? Is that who we're
and
talking about? It's Ivanyuk, right?
I forget. Yeah, I forget he was, whatever finished third or bronze. And
Yeah.
I was just, I knew he was good, but I also was like, he shouldn't have been there. That's
Right.
what I felt
Right.
like, kind of thing. But I mean, he jumped 37 on the day, and he ended up, knocking Wu to fourth, and and that was kind of bittersweet. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, Wu had been stuck, you know, about 29. He jumped 29 when he was a junior athlete,
Yeah.
and literally from I think that was 14, he jumped I think 29
Wow.
in Eugene or something. And from 14 to like, it was 19, kind of toiling around, trying to look for coaches and stuff. And then we got together in 20, then COVID shut us down. And then in 21, he spent like 6 months with me after three
Yeah.
months in 21. And I mean, he goes literally from, he PR'd by what, 6 centimeters that year. And he did
Yeah.
it at the Olympic final, which was awesome. And then the
Right.
next year, he, won world indoors and got silver outdoors. Um, and so but it was kind of like one of those, like, I worked with him and he gets all the support in the world. And I'm like, I know we have three jumpers that are just as talented as he is,
Yeah.
and he's going to be one of the one like Tamberi and like those guys in the mix for a medal.
Yeah.
And Javon is like freakishly, like, I mean, I look at him and I'm like, gosh, he could potentially break the world record, with the right
Right.
setting. I don't know if he can do it while he's long jumping.
Yeah.
I, once he concentrate on the high jump, and they can do it when they're young. I'm not going to sit there and say he can't, but
Right.
he had a little knee issue, so even that at the Olympics, it's like, yeah, maybe you should have concentrated on one. But I'm not his coach. I can't dictate. He's had a
Right.
good system, but when they're younger, they can get away with that more. But as he gets older, he's going to have to
Sure.
definitely focus in on one of that. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a great group. Him, Shelby, McEwen, he's fantastic, and I mean, there's other kids, and I think Vernon Turner, when he finally kind of, figures it out, I mean, I could jump 229 or 230 out of high school, and
Right.
he's jumped 33 before, but I could see him going a lot higher. And there's kids out there that are mega talented, but they need to find the right coach and the right system to kind of get up there to that next level. And
And like
so,
you said, there's no real organization. It's happenstance, right? Wherever you happen to fall. Because you and I both know
mhm,
you could get picked by a great, one of the big schools. Let's say Big Ten. Let's pick the schools where all the football money's flowing through the Big Ten or the SEC. And you go there, and it's a big name program, and maybe they have some NIL money for you and everything else, but they may or may not have a high jump coach that knows what they're doing. You may
yeah,
just get great athletes and they may jump high for you, but not as high as they could.
yeah,
So, that true development that you're talking about, you need to have somebody overseeing that. So if your center got closed down and you're keeping it open through your your foundation, right, and your
mhm,
different
mhm.
efforts for your business to fund through there, and then is the U.S. Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, is that still open? Do they still have a
Yeah,
hierarchy?
it's still open, but the problem with it is it's just not the best environment because there's no coaches up there.
Mhm.
And then, you got to go use Air Force's track. And it's not the best
Yeah.
environment. I mean, the residence program was kind of mandated by the USOPC to USA Track and Field. When they didn't make that mandate anymore, USA Track and Field slowly just kind of disseminated the program and stuff. And it was only run again on 625,000 in the last couple of years, and we still producing medals, and it's more disappointing. But I feel like it would have been different if we weren't having success, but we
Yeah.
continue to have success despite that. And we
Right.
still produced a world champion. We still produced someone who finished sixth in the multi, and one who finished ninth in the triple. And this year, we've got seven athletes, and I think all seven can make the Olympic team this year. And so it's not just good coaches, it's also a good environment. And so I know that's important, and I don't depend on anybody else to do it. So I kind of take it upon myself to raise the money so that we can redo that. And I've been to 76 countries, 49 states. I've traveled my whole life. I've coached medalists. I'm kind of at that point now where I really would like the athletes to come to me and me not travel, but
Right.
having coaches and coach the coaches so that they can travel. They can go to the Diamond Leagues and they can go to the World Championships and Olympics because
Right.
I've been there and done that. Like I'm enjoying being a dad, but I also see that the importance of, you know, what we've kind of got into recently, and I've seen this, is that the coaches have become really good at performance, but coaches miss the sight on performance when it matters the most. And that's periodization and that's programming. And so the coaches can get an athlete to jump far. I've seen it. I've seen good coaches with good athletes perform well. But when it comes down to the importance of performing when it matters, and again, I feel like I'm, pretty good at that, in my resume with
Right.
coaching 18 medalists proves that I've done it with different athletes and different events and stuff. But I think that the next thing is getting these coaches to make sure that the athletes medal because for field event athletes, that's what matters.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter if you jumped, to 35, you're not going to get a contract off of that. But if you jump 235 and win a medal, then you're going to get a contract,
Right. Right.
or 233 on your first attempt. And so, I mean, Brian McBride was a perfect example of that. In 17, he won USA's, jumped 30 a few times. At Worlds, he jumped 29 in prelims, made the final. And if he would have made first attempt 29, he would have been a bronze medalist.
Right.
He might have been in the sport a little bit longer because he financially would have been able to stay in it. And same with Ricky. Ricky had the highest jump not to make the final ever. He made 29 on his third, was over 31 on his third, and it went like this and fell off. If it
Yeah.
stays on, I actually think Ricky would have done really well in the final. But um, I mean, if that bar stays on and he goes to the final and jumps 29 and gets a medal, he may still be jumping.
Yeah.
But he basically, he got hurt uh, a year later, or no, the next year he jumped again. The next year after that, he got hurt, didn't make the world championship, and then they were like, okay, we're not, supporting you anymore. And he slowly kind of got out of the sport, and
Yeah.
that's the things that don't want to happen. And so by being able to give the athletes a decent amount of money, and so they can pay for their just
Yeah.
housing, they want to pay for their coach, be in a good environment. That's the whole goal of the foundation is to basically create what all the distance and sprint enclaves have.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just such a lack of resources out there for the guys. I got Jeremy phasing in and out. I have to say this and save it in the edit. This is our longest one though. Uh, it's our longest glitch thus far. Oh, there you are.
Right. Yeah.
We had a
So,
small glitch.
no, that's okay. Yeah, that might have been mine. So the last thing I think I said is just, I think the thing that is being failed right now, and that the foundation is creating that, we're missing out on the development part of
Hmm.
of our sport right now. And so
Yeah.
making sure that, kid who jumped 225 or, the girl who jumped 180, 190 at a college can still, get at least 2 years of
Yeah.
development to see where they potentially go. Because, like, I mean, look at the women's high jump right now. Like, literally, the only person they're supporting is Ashdai Cunningham,
Yeah.
and that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no, they're not really sponsoring or helping any other, high jumpers in the U.S. And you know, she's a once in a lifetime talent, and that's the only person we're helping.
Yeah.
And it's I won't even go there with, it helps for her father being who he is too.
Sure. Sure.
But
Absolutely. Yeah.
most kids, if they're not medaling, they're
Yeah.
responsible and stuff
Yeah. Well, she
like
made
that.
two
So
Olympic teams, but still nothing, that big, right, on the world scene as far as
yeah,
places.
she won the medal. She won a medal very young. I think both. I think she has two world medals, maybe indoors.
Mhm.
But I mean, she medaled at such a young age and has had success at such a young age, but definitely hasn't developed the way the other ones did. She 202 at our place in 21, and it was huge. I mean, she made 202 like this. It was crazy. And then unfortunately didn't medal at the Olympics. But I did after that 202 jump. I was like, there's no way that girl's not going to break the American record.
Right.
And and so, but yeah, I mean, she definitely has struggled. I mean, she didn't make the final at the World Champions. I love her to death, so it's hard for me to. I'm just talking the
Right.
truth, but I mean, she didn't make the final at the World Championships in 22, and last year didn't medal either. And so, and so like, luckily her dad is who he is, and there's that. And I don't know her contract situation, but unfortunately, like, there's just no number two behind Vashti. There's, we
Right.
should have, yes, BB was up there, Brigitte Barrett, and she medaled, and she should get the gold eventually when they strip the Russian girl for cheating. But
Right.
I felt like we always had a second person there, and we just right now don't have that. Um, and then in the men's high jump, yeah, you have Javon, and he's pretty talented, and he finishes pretty well. But it's we're the U.S. We have too much talent for
Yeah.
kids in there. I mean, Jamaica's killing us right now.
Right.
I mean, they got the once in a lifetime triple jumper, and who's amazing, and they've got the two long jumpers. I'm like saying, how are we letting Jamaica kill us? And
Right.
it's because they're using a great American coach and Travis Geppert at
Yeah.
Arkansas. You
Yeah.
know, so
Well,
and
that's
if we
another
didn't support
argument,
our
right?
American coaches,
Yeah.
the American coaches are going to find a way to support themselves, and it will be
Yeah.
by working in foreign countries, like me working with China and Korea and stuff like that.
Sure.
And India.
Yeah, well, you got to do what you got to do, right? It's tough because again, it just comes down to the fact that, whoever's up at the top, like you said, the money, I think the way I've been picturing is there is money to be had there, but like you said, it's not as much as the other sports. And then it's like they're just fighting over the scraps like wolves, and then nobody else gets anything. So it's just, I liked your vision of three different championships. I mean, we actually have a little bit of a model of that in the Junior Olympics because you have you have the Nike and the New Balance and the other ones, and they all have their different emphases, right? One's more distance, one's more jumps, one's more sprints. I mean, I look at that and that gives me a little bit of hope, but it's at the same time and just like, well, where's the TV? Where's the exposure? Where's the because you know a lot of names and places and things that everybody have been to. And like you said, you're passionate. And I know more than most, but I don't know all of them, and that's one thing I always respected about Dwight was Dwight does his homework. So when he was doing his Olympic stuff, he knew the top names, and all the different events and all that. And it's difficult, because we do have a sport where there's so many events and so many athletes in so many countries, to really be
And
well
and
followed.
Dwight's like, and I know you probably talked recently. I mean, they're not do much stuff anymore either. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what we do, Jeremy, but you're fighting the good fight there, buddy. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to. I think development is the biggest key. I mean, I think you've got to have a place. We're too talented not to have, you know, when I came to the center in '08, we didn't have any finalists in the Olympics
yeah.
in the jumps, and and we had the talent. But then in 12, I mean, we not only had we had a medalist in the high jump with Eric, we had two in the triple jump with Christian and Will, and then we had one in the long jump with Will.
Hmm.
And then in 16 we have the gold medalist in the long jump, and we have two in the triple. And Eric, I think, got hurt a little bit going into 16 in the Olympics, so that kind of hurt. But you still had a North American win the gold medal in Derek Druin,
Right.
and you know brought up in the American system, Indiana and all that.
Right.
Coach
Right.
Antoon did a great job, and so I always say that's a school, us a little bit, but you sit there and the talent's there, but it's and but they have to have another avenue and not depend on the college system to produce medals. I think if we do that, I think it's failed. I mean, it's like, gosh, we put all this money in the distance events and they didn't score any medals at all. I mean, you
Yeah.
take, I think, Moo's 800, and we didn't do anything above the 800 at
Yeah.
the World Championships. And it's like, we had, Javon win uh, high jump medal, and I think Tori, I don't know, and gosh, where was it? No, we didn't. We had Tara won a long jump medal. That's what it was.
Right.
But we didn't have any triple or long ourselves. And so it's like, gosh, where's our next people coming? Yeah,
Yeah.
Tara there through LA. You know, Kanisha's getting a little bit older. She may hang on to LA, but I'm just even looking at Christian and Will. They're aging out. Chris is aging out. Where's our next medalists and stuff coming from?
Yeah.
And it's development. I mean, you got to have a program that can take those 1660, those 8, 10, 8, 15 guys, and the 225, 230 guys, and develop them to
Yeah.
LA, and we're going to have some surprise medals,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we're going to be on home soil. But
That's
if you don't
yeah.
have the development, it's not going to happen. If you depend on the college system, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So,
Right. Well, we got the, like you said, got the talent, and we could get the money. You got to find out how to get get the money, right?
yeah.
Uh, Between, big meets and organizations and all that. It's a daunting task, but we got you fighting the good fight there, Jeremy. I know I want to get. I know I said this last time. I actually did make it down to the training center this last summer. My parents live in San Diego, so I drove down there, and I
Yeah,
just
but Chula's pretty
yeah,
far. Like Chula, when you get to San Diego, it still says, another like 18 miles to Chula. So
yeah,
I understand.
yeah. No. I got down there and I saw the track, and it's gorgeous. I was just wandering around by myself. Nothing was
Yeah.
open. I think it was a Sunday, and
Okay.
but I'm looking at it. And what's the best way to get a hold of you down there? You there at selected times, or you
No,
just
I'm here pretty much all the time, unless we'll be at USA's and then World Indoors. But I mean, for the most part, I'm there 6 days a week, and even sometimes on Sundays. So
okay?
before it was a little bit harder. I had my family on the East Coast, but they're out there now. We're all together. So yeah, I'm just here. Like I got a one talk I have to go back to India for, but for the most part, I'm here. We're at the track 6 days a week. From 11 until 3 or 4 every day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and then Fridays, and practice a little bit shorter on Wednesdays and Saturdays. But yeah, we're either running hills, we're doing gymnastics, we're doing something if we're not on site. But yeah, we're
Yeah.
getting in prep for the Olympic year. I have Jasmine, Todd, Nard, Nick, Nicole Ariola, who jumps for Guatemala, long jumper.
Mhm.
My wife, Tanasia Lee, who jumps for Puerto Rico, triple jumper. And then I have some para high jumpers from India.
Nice.
Uh, one is Nishad Kumar, who's second. He's behind Roderick in his thing, silver medal. And then one who's behind Ezra, who's another American, but he's Indian high jumper. And then I'm going to get a able-bodied one, and then we'll see if Wu comes back. Wu was only out for like 6 weeks or eight
Right.
weeks last year, and they were supposed to come out, and he's doing indoors this year. So we'll see if he comes back for a couple months in the spring or something. But
Okay.
it's like I taught him and his coach everything. They kind of know I don't need to. There's not much I can pass on that's going to make or
Right.
break
Yeah.
that. So I think they got it. They're in good hands. They're going to do a good job. So it's just that my wish and my hope is I can get this so I can take some of those high jumpers and long jumpers out there. And it's funny because I feel like um, I did pretty well, and I can put together triple jump and long jump pretty good, even though it's crazy and high jump's my event. Maybe because I'm more cool in the high jump more than anything.
Mhm.
But I definitely feel like now having the athletes and seeing the success of how much better they've gotten, that I've on the same plane with the high jump. It's because all medalists were long and triple, and then finally after breaking ice and getting a couple high jump medals, I was always so close and never got there. And so
Right.
having Wu win a couple medals and definitely seeing how much improvement my athletes have, I feel like I've kind of solved the riddle of
Right.
success with the high jumpers and getting them to jump high when it matters the most. So
Awesome.
yeah, just neat. But now it just is getting it's expensive to live in San Diego. You know that. I mean,
Sure.
it's you're gonna share a room for $1,000. The center costs about 625 a month to
Mhm.
train at. So you're at 1,625 $1,625 before you even like paid for massage or therapy, and that's not even
Right.
paying me as a coach. That's just living here.
Right.
So that's why the foundation needs to happen so the kids can have at least their facility fee and their housing and some of their stuff
Right.
paid for. So they can make some money and really concentrate on the task at hand, which is just, you know, let's get to the finals first. Let's make the team, get to the finals, and then next thing,
Yeah.
let's get into medal contention.
Awesome. So what's a good way to get a hold of you, Jeremy, as far as
You
got
can,
email
I'll,
or
yeah, I can, yeah, I'll Instagram. I'll give you my personal number so you can just text
yeah.
me or whatever, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
you can come
I
down anytime.
want to get down
And
there and yeah, and both see you in action and see the place at in full swing. I got to see it was
yeah,
a beautiful day when I was out there, but there was nobody out there, so I was just like, okay, this is it. I
yeah,
was
I think
amazed
in
size of the track.
April, I think March and April will be good because I think we'll go to World Indoors, and after World Indoors, he may come out for April and May until he heads back. And so
Uh,
Wu may be out there. I've got this Servesh who's jumped like 229, I think, high jumper from
uh,
India. I've got Nishad who's jumped 214 and he's missing an arm, but I mean the kid can jump 225.
uh,
So and he looks
yeah.
fantastic. He's working his butt off. And then Mike is amazing. He has no basically has not use of his left leg or right leg, and he's only like 5'5" and he jumps 6'3". It's
Uh,
pretty
yeah.
impressive. Yeah, and so
I love
it's a
watching.
good hygiene crew. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be a lot of fun. So
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. What was I gonna say? Yeah, getting down there and seeing the Paralympians are another thing that I'd love to see more, support, more recognition, more of everything. I hate the idea that, the regular Olympics goes and then they got to wait and then go on their own. Now I know it's a logistical nightmare because there's so
and they're
many.
growing. Yeah, there's so many, but they're growing. And even with my time, I started working with them at 11, 12, and the growth I've seen in the last, like 12 years has been amazing. And so, it's definitely getting more attention. It's getting more
Yeah,
airplay. People are starting to watch it more. So it's pretty cool to see the expansion of how much para is, but it's amazing. Like, I mean, Lex Gillette, who's, my world champion and Olympic time medalist and everything else, and he's just the most amazing athlete ever. I mean, it's just like he's 100% visually impaired, cannot see, he's blind, lost his he had retinal detachment at like 7 years
right.
old, and he has a TED talk and everything else, and he's the world record holder in long jump, and it's like he's like 22.8, and he's never seen himself long jump entire life, and
Wow.
it's like it's amazing, and one blew up because he missed the pit, and people are like, why does he have a mask on? And,
Uh,
just a stupid thing, but he became viral because of what he did. But it's the most amazing thing ever. I mean, to watch someone
Yeah.
jump almost 23 feet and they
Right.
cannot see anything is I don't have the pelotas to steps with full speed anywhere without,
Right.
let alone
Seeing where you're going.
taking
Yeah.
14 steps, 16 steps
Yeah.
and to the pit is amazing.
Yeah.
So
Well, I keep
impressive.
telling
So yeah,
my athletes when their training's complete, kind of like Kwai Chang, Kane on Kung Fu or whatever. It's like when you're really dialed in, if they turn out all the lights and turn off all the sound, you still got to be able to operate. You still got to.
exactly.
It's like when they
And
put the helmet on Luke, and he's like, you got to
yeah,
feel the force, Luke. It's like
yeah, no.
that's the
And
highest
it's
level, right?
amazing what I've learned from my athletes. Literally, I became a great coach because of the fact that I've had to work with Paralympic athletes and make adaptations and be creative and the things that I've had to do. I have to know the event better than anything because have to know to make adaptations so that those athletes can perform. And I'm proud of what my parents have done. I mean, I don't think there, no coach is 100% on anything as far as, kind of, that stuff. But in Paralympics, every athlete I've ever had has gotten better. It's
Yeah.
crazy, and it's because of creativity, them trusting me trusting in them
Yeah.
having a voice in what to do and telling me like, hey, coach, I'm not able to do this, or yeah, I think I could do this, or this is a great adaptation. And it's
Yeah.
pretty freaking impressive, and it's made me a better coach for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, they're amazing. I've had the opportunity now just nudging into that world with a couple and that's it's uh it's kind of awe-inspiring. Like you said, I love watching anybody perform at a high level, but just seeing someone who has absolutely no regard for, this will put it in perspective for you. I teach high school PE still, and there's kids that won't dress out. They're always looking at their phones. They don't do anything. And I have one kid who I think, I'm not even sure. I know he's got a withered arm and leg. He may have a palsy. I'm not sure
Yeah,
what the affliction is, but he runs 2 laps, shuffling, dragging one arm, and he runs 2 laps, and these kids walk. They
yeah,
won't even run their mile, and I'm just like, yeah, you know,
yeah.
you, you've been given all these things, you don't use them. And here's this person that has been given, completely defective equipment, and they're pushing it, to the limit.
And the sad thing is those kids, it's they don't even know, like, because they're not even attempting to, like, do something physical. Like,
Yeah.
I'm talking to choir on this, but like the benefits of being physically active and healthy and the hormonal things that happen from that. I mean, I'm fortunate that I, exercise every single day. But a day when I don't exercise, I don't feel right. I don't feel good,
Right.
and it's
Yeah.
because there's so much, positivity that comes from just simply walking or, running or lifting or doing
Yeah.
whatever. And it's sad that, like, I mean, my goal is to live, as long as I can. But I think one of the reasons is, we've aged slower is because we've been physically active our whole entire lives.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, people who are fit and stuff, they can, pass away and things can, you know, it's not because I'm, being
Right.
lazy or not, wanting to run
Yeah.
or exercise or, not take care of myself or things
Sure.
like
You keep stressing the system, and it keeps, adjusting to keep you in fit and keep
that.
you.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think it's use it or lose it, right?
Yeah, well, and I mean, they did that study. If they spent, what was it, $50 billion on health and nutrition and stuff, high school level, to keep athletes, it would save $1 trillion on the back end in health expenses and stuff like that. Trillions of
Yeah.
dollars,
Sure.
So, I mean, but I'm talking to a PE teacher, so I'm preaching to the choir.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Jeremy, I appreciate your time as usual. Being
No,
very
for having me
gracious, and I love getting you up on your soapbox. I
on.
hear we need to hear, what's going on. We need to know.
Yeah,
I'm sure
it,
there's very few people
it's
that have any
sad. I
idea.
mean, it's sad because it's like I'm sitting here and watching the, degradation of the sport, and I'm watching it just erode. And it's
Yeah.
like the people who are empowered to do something about it just aren't. And I don't know if it's because they're not passionate about it or they don't know the sport. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, I'm sitting here watching people who, never ran or never did track and did this, and they're at the top, and man, they're making a lot of money,
Yep.
but they're not helping the sport. They're not growing the sport, and it's
Maybe.
like, and
Yeah.
maybe they don't have a passion for it, and they're just happy they're collecting a big paycheck. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's like there's too many passionate people who,
Yeah.
do the job for half the thing, and
Yep.
they may fail, but they, turn over every rock to try to grow the sport more and stuff like that. And it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's sad. It's sad, and there's money to be made out there. I mean, you
Yeah.
got, what's the something trillion? I forget how many trillions of dollars it was with the top Fortune 500 companies, right?
Yeah.
And they all are supposed to contribute, like, what was it, like 10% to, taxes into,
Right.
I don't pay taxes, but to
Yeah.
philanthropic things and stuff like that. And I'm sitting there going, okay, so if you take a company like Meta, supposedly worth almost, like, close to $1 trillion, and you could get, I mean, it would be like me asking Meta for $50 million is like you asking me $20. Yeah, well, here you go.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really how easy it is. And so, like, you just got to get with the right people, and you got to be able to get in those rooms. And I'm not
Yeah.
sure if the people, are getting in those rooms, because, you can't tell me of the top 10 companies that $100 million or $50 million. I mean, the wealth of them, they can write that off. I mean,
Sure.
I'm watching, Bezos' wife, they got divorced and she became one of the richest people in the world, right?
Right. Right.
And she's giving away, like, I think, what was it, like $4.7 billion or something like that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you couldn't get, if she's giving away 4.7, you couldn't get 100 million for track and field, or,
Yeah.
for the Olympics or whatever. It's just,
Right.
I'm not, but you can't get it unless you get in the room. And I'm not sure if we have the people that, you know,
Yeah.
to be that squeaky wheel to get in those rooms to get
Yeah.
our sport money because yeah, it's going to invest. You bring in $100 million and you're going to spend 20 million getting it on TV and getting it out there, social media, and getting every person to do it. And
Yeah.
that's how you grow the sport.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to have a one of our athletes date Taylor Swift or something. I don't know.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing, right? Perfect boon for the NFL. Like they needed any help, right? Was it
Yeah, exactly.
higher ratings?
They literally paid $110 million because it's Kansas City and it's Taylor Swift, and they
Yeah.
paid it just like, be a way that, we can grow our sport too, to be
Yeah.
bigger and to be on TV.
Yep. Yep. I hear you. Well, we just got to find the ones with the deeper pockets, right, Jeremy? And like
Well, I mean, yeah,
you
or
get in the
that, or
room
just,
somehow.
just get, if you can get in the room with, 10 people who make $10 million and they all contribute $50,000, which they have to pay in taxes or way as a
Yeah.
gift anyway.
Right.
You got 500, 1,000 more things that you could help the sport do.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm not, I don't even have to have, $100 million. I'm just sitting there saying like any contribution helps. And,
Sure.
we haven't grown that much as far as, input and revenue and everything else like that.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Well, the work is out there for us, I guess, right? We just gotta keep
yeah.
plugging. All right. Well, Jeremy, hey, again, appreciate you and
Of course.
looking forward
Thanks
to
for
getting
having
a
me
chance to
on,
meeting you
for
face to face here.
yeah, no, definitely talking to you. Again, we're trying to, do some good things. So, for all your people out there, check out the foundation, mbafoundation.org,
Yeah,
mba.services and stuff. I
throw
have a
out your
community
yeah.
board. Get on the mba.services and get on the community board. I mean, the whole thing is it's free and it's just a place where, distance runners have Let's Run and everyone writes on there and it's amazing and stuff. And I was like, jumpers don't have a place to go. So I created the MBA or MBA services and the community board. So we have a place to talk and communicate and share things and stuff like that. And, we've got over 300 people in the community, but I just wish there was more interaction and people talking and discussing
Yeah.
things and stuff like that. And so I hope to grow that up too, just because I want there to be a place for jumpers to go. And, maybe the thing is, I'm going to have, one of the things we're going to do is, track wire or track Shark. Remember back in the day, they grew because they put results on. And, maybe one thing we can do is, go through the weekends and put up the best jump marks from different meets for high
Yeah.
jump, long jump, triple jump. So it has a place for people to go and look. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so we're just thinking to kind of grow the sport, grow the thing, grow it for sure.
I'd like to
Yeah,
get, some things as simple as rule changes, but I'm constantly trying to promote jumpers on my site. I don't know if you've ever looked at any
yeah,
posts,
yeah.
from all over the world and all over the
Yeah.
states, whatever.
No, I
And
do.
there's
I
times I'm
see a
like,
lot, and it's awesome how you write
oh,
about it, and kind of what they
there's
want to do, PRs. It's awesome.
yeah. But then when I ask them, I'm like, hey, did you try to get me some videos where they're shot vertically? And can we make you a little bigger because you're like this tall from
Yeah,
a
exactly.
mile away? And it's like, I was at Mount Sac or not at Mount Sac at Arcadia this weekend for the Winter Championships, and they're giving me crap, And I remember 3 or 4 years ago, before the pandemic, they were letting the coaches down on the field, and I could literally get my
Yeah,
favorite shot right down the bar, so I can see what your lean angle
yep,
is, and all kinds of things. I get tons of
yeah, yeah,
information out of it. And they were like, yeah, sure, film away. And then when you go talk to your athlete, just make sure you're back there on the field. And then this weekend, they're just like, yeah, you can't be out here. You can't be right. And I'm like, dude, you got an image problem as it is. Let me film the kids. Let me get a good angle here. And I'll put, I want to do a live one of these times. I'm trying to talk Doug Nordquist
yeah,
into one where
yeah,
we actually just call the event, like two guys
yeah. No, that'd be awesome. That'd
doing
be
it just
awesome.
like it's the Olympic finals, whereas there's a kid who jumped
Yeah,
16 this weekend with an 8-step approach where he was almost walking at the bar. He had unbelievable pop, straight up in the air. I'm
yeah,
just going, this would have been great to do that so
yeah.
promotion, we got to
Yeah,
fit.
I mean, I know a coach who was there, and she showed me her filming, and I'm like, she's like behind the
Yeah.
high jump, like to the right, and
Yeah.
she, and all the correct she had to do was move the girl out, but you can't see it jumping too
Yeah.
close to the bar when you're all the way back there, and that's not her fault. That's just
Right.
the only place she could be, and I'm like, that's crazy.
Yep. I
Great.
mean, I'm that guy, but I went out there because I had, I think I had 3 or 4 different athletes that I've worked with out there, but I was like, I'm just like, I just kept cheating over, get a little
Yeah.
closer,
Yeah.
moving over. I'm trying to keep the gal from seeing me and going, hey, get out of there. But I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, well, I thought we were winning this battle. 3 years ago, I was able to come out here,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
the pole vault community is great. They let you come out, you can film from anywhere,
Because they always say, "Oh, it's a safety issue," kind of thing
right,
and stuff.
right.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's
Yeah,
but
like,
the officials get it.
yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
that's sad. And yeah, I mean, even at the Olympics, we have to sit behind the high jump and
right.
stuff like that. And it's like,
And yell at
and
your
if you're
athlete from
to the
across
right, you're so
10
far
lanes.
away, you can't even communicate with your
Yeah.
athlete. So
Oh,
it's just bad. I hate that. Yeah, it's the worst.
yeah.
So
Yeah. Nobody gets it. But all right. Well, let's keep working about fixing it, Jeremy. We're
for sure, for sure.
we're on the
And
job.
come on down. I plan on seeing you this spring. So come
All
on
right.
down.
I'm coming for
I
sure.
think.
Hey,
All right.
thanks
Thanks
again
for
for your
having me
time,
on.
bud. Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Night. And that was Jeremy Fischer. He's the amazing head of the training center down at Chula Vista. You heard him mention MVA. I looked it up online. I'm looking at the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center, U.S. and Paralympic training site. He mentioned MVA. I'm looking here. He's got follow us on Instagram and overview of the CVEATC, the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center. It's amazing, and he's doing some fantastic work. If you listen to him for more than a couple minutes, you realize that he's coaching both Americans and foreign athletes to amazingly high levels. So all of that is fantastic, and I'm gonna get off my lazy butt and get down there and see him. He trained Tyler Arroyo, I'm pretty sure, or at least Tyler had the facilities available back in 2021 when he jumped from 7.2 1/2 all the way up to 7.5 1/2 or 5 3/4, and went to the trials. So I know that he does, amazing things all the time. His athletes always improve. And, I need to learn anything and everything I can from Jeremy. And, he talked about periodization and, getting his athletes to peak at the right time. Well, there's no better time to peak than at the World Championships or at, the Olympics, at the big dances. And like you said, some coaches are good enough to get their athletes to jump well once, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was in the, under the brightest lights, like the kind of thing we're expecting out of Brock Purdy in the Super Bowl this weekend, for instance. So until next time, it's Troy Haines. I'm going to add on to my rant where we started. We'll figure out what to do with that. But thanks again to Jeremy Fischer joining us and spending his time. And until next time here on Raise the Bar, it's Troy Haines signing off.